Have you ever stopped to consider why we argue so much? Nietzsche believed that our obsession with debate might actually be the biggest sign of weakness. A shocking notion when you realize that society often praises arguing as a mark of intelligence and sophistication. Yet, what if this constant barrage of words is merely a mask for deep-seated insecurity? What if the endless disputes we engage in are not evidence of strength, but rather a desperate clinging to the comfort of justification? Think back to the last time you got into an argument. Perhaps you wanted to prove your point or defend a belief that you held dear. But in the end, did that heated exchange change anything meaningful? Was it more like shouting into a void, hoping that your words would somehow shift the course of reality? Nietzsche challenges us to strip away the pretenses of debate and confront a provocative question. Is true strength found in endless argument, or in the quiet confidence of those who do not feel compelled to justify every thought and action? Nietzsche's critique extends beyond mere idle bickering. It cuts to the core of how we justify our existence in a world that seems to demand constant rationalization. In our modern era, overanalysis and debate have become almost ritualistic. We defend our positions not solely to find truth, but to fill the void left by inaction. This obsession with argumentation often disguises a fundamental weakness: the inability to trust our instincts and act without needing external validation. Socrates once proclaimed that reason is the light that dispels the darkness of ignorance. To him, living without examining one's life was like navigating a stormy sea without a compass. While this idea is undeniably powerful, it also carries a hidden danger. By elevating reason to the ultimate authority, we risk turning it into an oppressive master, a tyrant over our most basic instinctual impulses. This relentless demand for rational explanation forces even the simplest decisions to be overanalyzed. Consider the moments when you acted purely on instinct, falling for someone without needing to dissect every emotion, or taking a bold risk at work without calculating every possible outcome. Then, as if by an uninvited intrusion, reason steps in and demands, "Why did you do that?" It is as if our natural impulses are seen as insufficient unless they can be backed by a cascade of logical justifications. For Socrates, reason is akin to a sharp knife that cuts through confusion, laying bare the truths hidden behind the murk of uncertainty. Yet, when misused, that same knife can inflict deep wounds. Overanalysis turns simple decisions into complex mazes of justification, trapping us in a cycle of perpetual doubt. Blaise Pascal famously remarked, "The heart has its reasons which reason does not know." This insight reminds us that our emotions, our instincts, and our gut feelings are not irrational flaws to be eradicated by logic, but vital aspects of our human experience, elements that defy tidy explanation. Nietzsche questioned whether our culture's reliance on endless debate and justification has, over time, transformed reason into a tyrant over our actions. How many times have you hesitated, paralyzed by the need to rationalize every possible angle before finally taking a decisive step? Ancient cultures did not suffer from this burden. In the harsh, immediate reality of hunter-gatherer life, decisions had to be made in the blink of an eye, when survival depended on swift, instinctive action rather than lengthy deliberation. When a predator charged or a chance to hunt arose, there was no time for endless debate. The body acted before the mind could interject. This unencumbered reliance on instinct ensured survival, even if it seemed primitive by today's standards. Consider a soccer player making a split-second decision on the field. He does not pause to calculate every trajectory or analyze every possible outcome. Instead, he trusts his training, his muscle memory, and that intangible sense of timing, a blend of instinct and practice skill that enables him to strike the ball with precision. Much like a wild animal that does not question its own strength, the player acts, and in doing so, displays a form of power that transcends the need for rational justification. Nietzsche saw this as a fundamental truth. True strength often lies in the natural, unmediated expression of instinct rather than in the cold calculations of logic. Yet, in our modern society, everything seems to demand an explanation. We live in a world where every action is scrutinized, where social media platforms amplify every opinion and every word is subject to debate. The value of our actions appears to depend on external approval or adherence to an invisible, ever-changing set of rules. But what if some of our best decisions, the ones that propel us forward without hesitation, are made in the absence of detailed justification? What if the power of instinct, that raw and unfiltered force, is precisely what we need to break free from the chains of endless rationalization? When we find ourselves drawn into interminable debates, we often do so to fill a void left by our own inaction. The argument becomes a substitute for real, decisive action, a way to feel powerful without taking risks. On social media, for instance, endless threads of debate about politics, morality, or even trivial everyday matters rarely produce any tangible change. Instead, these debates often serve as a playground for resentment, where words are wielded like weapons to score points rather than to build understanding. Nietzsche observed that such debates are frequently the tool of the resentful, a way for those who feel powerless to assert their presence by attacking ideas rather than contributing to constructive progress. Excessive arguing can also lead to paralysis. How many times have you overthought a decision until it became impossible to act? The process of weighing every what if can sap the energy needed to simply make a move. Picture someone trying to cross a river but spending so much time studying every current and eddy that they never muster the courage to jump. The opportunity slips away, lost to hesitation. This is the trap of overanalysis. The more we debate and justify, the further we stray from action and the realization of our true potential. Nietzsche did not reject philosophy or reason outright. He merely argued that reflection should serve as a springboard for action, not as an excuse for endless delay. Great thinkers like Schopenhauer recognized that the will to power, the drive that compels us to overcome obstacles and shape our destiny, is the true engine of life. Schopenhauer, too, acknowledged that this powerful force can be the source of both immense suffering and profound growth. What matters is not the suppression of instinct through overthinking, but the harmonious integration of reason and intuition, a balance that allows us to act decisively without being crippled by doubt. So, what does it mean to live as Nietzsche envisioned? It means rejecting the need for constant justification. It means daring to trust your instincts and act on them, even when reason cannot fully account for your choices. Imagine the Übermensch, or overman, a figure who does not wait for external validation, but creates his own values and lives by them. Picture a solitary tree standing in a vast open field, its roots deep and unyielding because it has learned to rely solely on its own strength. This is the essence of living authentically, having the courage to be oneself without the burden of endless explanation. In today's world, many of us are caught in a cycle of seeking approval, whether through social media interactions or in our day-to-day decisions. We often find ourselves compelled to justify our every move, as if our actions have value only when validated by others. Nietzsche challenges us to ask, are we arguing to prove our intellectual might, or are we using debate as a shield to hide our inability to act? The answer lies in the tension between thought and action. While rational analysis can clarify our path, it can also trap us in perpetual inaction. In contrast, instinct allows us to leap forward, even when the path is shrouded in uncertainty. This is why some of the most transformative moments in life come from trusting our gut instincts. Think about those times when you made a decision without overthinking. When you accepted an unexpected invitation, changed careers on a whim, or took a bold step in a relationship. In those moments, the result was not just a successful outcome, but a surge of confidence and self-assurance that propelled you into a new chapter of your life. Nietzsche's message is clear. Debate and overanalysis are often the refuge of the weak. True strength lies in the courage to act without the constant need for justification. Nietzsche's critique is not an outright dismissal of reason. Rather, it is a call to balance reason with instinct. The problem arises when we let our need to justify every action override the natural, spontaneous force that drives us forward. In our quest to prove ourselves to others, we risk becoming prisoners of our own overthinking, trapped in an endless cycle of debate that prevents us from living fully. The irony is that in trying to demonstrate our intellectual prowess through argument, we often reveal our deepest vulnerabilities. To illustrate this, consider the modern phenomenon of procrastination. Many people delay important decisions not because they lack ideas, but because they are overwhelmed by the need to analyze every detail, to plan perfectly, and to predict every possible outcome. This relentless search for the right moment often leaves us stuck in a state of perpetual inaction while the world around us moves on. Nietzsche saw this as a profound irony. In our effort to secure certainty through debate, we forfeit the very spontaneity and dynamism that make life worth living. The solution, then, is to cultivate an inner balance, a synthesis of reason and instinct that liberates us from the tyranny of endless justification. Imagine an entrepreneur who, driven by a bold vision, launches a startup despite the absence of complete data, or an artist who creates passionately without seeking approval from critics. These individuals embody the spirit of the Übermensch, who lives by an inner code of authenticity and strength. They trust their instincts, take risks, and accept that not everything can or should be explained. Nietzsche's challenge to us is simple yet profound. Stop arguing for the sake of arguing. Instead, let your actions speak for themselves. Embrace the moments when intuition overrides logic, when a spontaneous decision leads to unexpected success. Recognize that true power is not measured by the quantity of our words or the complexity of our arguments, but by the clarity of our actions and the authenticity of our choices. Nietzsche's philosophy teaches us that debate, when overindulged, can become a crutch, a substitute for the genuine courage needed to live fully. He invites us to break free from the chains of endless argumentation and to embrace a life guided by inner strength and intuition. In doing so, we not only liberate ourselves from the paralysis of overthinking, but we also open the door to a more vibrant, creative existence. A life in which our actions are fueled by a deep, unshakable trust in our own abilities. So the next time you find yourself drawn into an argument that seems to lead nowhere, pause and ask, is this debate truly serving me, or is it merely a way to fill a void left by inaction? Nietzsche reminds us that life is too short for endless debate, and that true strength lies in decisive, instinctive action. The real measure of our character is not how well we can argue, but how boldly we can act when no one is watching, and without needing to explain ourselves to anyone. Remember, in a world that often celebrates endless debate, sometimes the strongest voice is the one that remains silent and acts without asking for permission. True power is found in the ability to make decisions based on instinct, to embrace uncertainty with courage, and to trust that the path you carve out for yourself is the right one, regardless of external validation. Nietzsche's challenge is clear. Stop arguing and start living. The time has come to reclaim your inner strength, to trust your gut, and to let your actions speak louder than words. Now, as you reflect on these ideas, consider how you might integrate them into your own life. Think about the decisions you've delayed, the opportunities missed due to overthinking, and the potential waiting to be unleashed if you would only trust your inner voice. The journey toward true freedom and authenticity begins when you choose to act without constant justification, when you embrace the raw power of instinct and let it guide you through the challenges of life. Nietzsche did not ask us to abandon reason entirely. Rather, he urged us to reframe our relationship with it. Let reason be a tool that informs your actions, not a chain that binds you to indecision. Find that delicate balance where thought and impulse coexist in harmony, a balance that allows you to live boldly without fear of judgment or the need to defend every step you take. So take that leap of faith, trust your instincts, and remember, the greatest victories in life are often won not by those who argue the loudest, but by those who act with quiet, unyielding determination. Stop arguing and start living your life. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more content like this.